Good morning, good evening, everyone. This is Ludika Pekina with GAI Insights. Welcome to Daily AI News, where we rate articles essential, important, or optional. You can find the articles at gaiinsights.com/articles. And please comment and let us know what you think about our ratings, whether you agree or disagree with them and why. We have John, Ankash, Paul from our regular crew, and Vivek Makhatia is joining us from Pfizer. He is probably the most adventurous experimenter with various things that are coming on the market. I've seen him try almost everything that comes on and built apps and just learn from this. This is tremendous. And so as a result, he has lots of insights. Thank you, Vivek, for joining.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Okay, so let's start with the first article. Ankash, please.
Sure, Luda. So the first one that we have for today comes from McKinsey, and it is titled The State of AI in 2025, Agents, Innovation, and Transformation.
A pretty comprehensive survey from McKinsey with almost 2,000 execs from many from big companies. What did you think about this survey, John?
Yeah, I think this is absolutely essential. We had got 1,993 respondents across 105 countries. Very interesting, data set. Third version of this for them. They kind of smushed together a couple with some definitions and stuff. But yeah, boy, findings are interesting. Scaling is still the most difficult thing, as my friend and colleague Paul will talk about, because he's actually scaled some things. But I think that the core message here is not only that Gen AI adoption continues, and you see evidence that goes into more functions and so forth. But I'd like to start because you're on Exhibit 9, because what it starts to talk about is the AI leaders, and the way they define AI leaders are people who get 5% or more of their EBIT, that's earnings before interest and tax, from AI in terms of AI improvements. And if you go down to Exhibit 9, you'll see that the folks who are actually doing that the leaders are much more likely to scale and apply, right? So this begins a series of charts and explication of the data that show that the leading companies are organizing differently. They're more likely to have long-term and multi-function implementation, and so it really gives credence to our observation and our analysis that says that the real issue is in the market is we have two populations. We have an early adopter population, which is not only getting value, but they're rewiring their organization to continue to get value, and then you have the rest. And so I think this is an essential read, gives great backdrop, and points out the most important competitive issue, which is that you don't have to worry about, is Gen AI broadly adopted? Are you competing with a leading company that is going to adopt this? Because that's going to be the competitive landscape you face.
Yes. So thank you, John, for good overview and essential from John. What did you think about this, Ankash?
I was essential on this as well, Luda. So this chart sort of summarizes everything that's there in this article, right? So they talk about how the high performers, they are leading the pack in terms of returns from AI adoption. And this chart summarizes the practices that they have been using to achieve that. And it resonates with what we have been discussing for the past 1.5 years now. That people need to redesign their workflows, leaders need to take a lead in adoption of AI, they need to show by example, and then also how you graduate as per our RISE framework from islands of innovation to then synchronization, then to intelligence leverages, right? So an essential read overall for any executive, I would say.
Thank you, Ankash. And Vivek, do you think it would resonate with Pfizer?
Yeah, actually, I've already shared this internally with the leaders, and I created a couple slides to highlight this point. I think both Ankaj and John mentioned we've been talking about that the leaders are pulling away and faster. I think this data supports that, and there is in this specific chart there is a line that says that leaders role model behavior, and I think that's a key piece for adoption in the organization, and that's what I think is my hypothesis is actually leading and causing this transformation and the benefits from AI. So absolutely essential.
Paul, going on essential, I particularly like the fact I'm all about innovation and new revenue, incremental revenue from these efforts. And it appears that leaders exactly focusing this way, that they put stress on innovation, revenue expansion, and then cost. So it's that prioritization versus the laggers usually start in cost and then they stay in cost for a long while before they go into revenue. So this is for me was a one big takeaway. Paul, we're going essential. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think forwardability is something we talk a lot about, and Vivek just verified it in this one here. I think it's notable that they're using the word AI now and be both Gen AI and traditional AI. So that's really blended here. I still remain frustrated in all the different definitions of agents, but essential article though.
Okay, essential it is. Let's proceed to the next one. Ankash, please.
Okay, the next one comes from HBR and it is titled Workers Don't Trust AI. Here's how companies can change that.
Yeah, an ongoing issue that a lot of people are focused on. An article with good examples from very large companies. What did you think about this?
Yeah, I actually like this article a lot. I think it's a good summary of AI adoption, and I think the thesis here is that AI's biggest hurdle isn't technical; it's human. And this article does a great job at summarizing some of the use cases from IKEA, Walmart, Deloitte, Colgate on how they have upskilled and built trust with the employees. And trust is the piece that trust begins with agency, helping and having stakeholders on the front lines or in-house be part of the co-creation process that leads to better gains with AI. So overall, I think this is a good, again, it has great forwardability, as Paul says, this article, and I think it's just the case studies themselves are excellent as a combination. So I gave this an essential as well because it's great, follow-up article to the McKinsey article.
Yeah. Thanks, Vivek. John, what did you think?
Yeah, I give it essential as well. Good things in there. Everybody from IKEA to other companies that have I imagine worked with Deloitte on this stuff. I do think at the beginning they confuse a little bit trust and function. And what I mean by that is that they say that they take the fact that many employees use their own tools as opposed to the company provided tools, and they take that as a distrust. It may simply be that the company provided tools are not very good. And so other than that kind of flaw in their thinking, I think that the overall notion of AI trust is critical. If it didn't have the examples, I'd give it an optional, but I think the examples really bring it alive for me. And our friends at Deloitte are working hard on this. So essentially it is.
Yeah, and they actually not just mentioned in the use cases and examples, they kind of went deeper and demonstrated how that applies to their main objective that they were discussing. So yeah, I agree with you. Okay, Ankash, what did you think?
I was essential on this, Luda, for all the reasons that Vivek and John mentioned.
And Paul?
Yeah, I throw a wrench. I'm triple optional. I mean, I'm expecting leaders to have some iota of competence, that leaders have actually been through a change management program here. And if I use the John Sfiocca school of article critique and just do the opposite, grow the skill of frontline workers, is the opposite not to grow? I don't I mean, I didn't find anything that's really actionable here. I mean, it's you know,
Paul, I would agree, but
yeah, Jesus Christ. If you're an executive at a company and never managed a change management program before, you shouldn't be an executive.
I think there is lack of engagement. Again, we talked about in the previous article about leadership, not role modeling. But I think this is where building trust, and I think given the examples, it brings it to life, right? That's what kind of changed my mind. But overall, I think there was higher trust in hands-on training. I think that things that you've been also championing a lot. It does highlight those. I think it puts these. I always look for data pieces that I can share that convinces my leadership on doing hands-on training, etc.
So it's not so much the advice; it's the other data examples of reminders. Oh, by the way, most people have four wheels in their car. Most people, they do actually do the basics of change management. Okay.
Yeah. So for me, I rated it essential for different reasons slightly. As a former GE, that we measured everything, and as Jack Welch would say, if you don't measure, you don't get. So it's absolutely the fact that they put as a first best practice measure trust. And moreover, they put their framework of measurement that open source. And I don't know, I haven't looked at it, how open source it is and how usable it is, whatever it is, but it is a metric that you can utilize now, right? And focus leaders to do that. So I think this is a fundamental, critical piece that needs to be there to be able to really make the change management process, Paul, as you're talking about, effective.
Well, I don't want to measure trust. I think it's a way. I think there's too many metrics, Vivek, and the corporations are drowning in it. We need to measure the actual business outcome. The scoreboard should be. Wait, this is a whole nother tape here. We should keep moving a little bit. Yeah.
I agree, but disagree with you. This is a fundamental before you get performance.
I don't know. Paul, you're convincing me. As I said at the beginning, I'd put it optional without the examples. I might, demote this to important or something like that in terms of my recommendation. I just want to note too that in my panoply of business leaders that don't deserve what the praise they got, Jack Welch is the top of the list. Gina Rometty is second. I think they both of them took great companies and drove them straight in the ground.
Oh, that's okay. We can.
It's really blowing up this topic.
Let's talk about it some other time.
Back, Luda.
Okay. All right. Let's say important. There is wisdom in what you say. So let's go important on this one.
And we'd love to know what the audience thinks. We've been pretty quiet here today.
Yeah. So what do you guys think? Essential, important?
Okay, moving forward to the next one.
Moving forward to the next one.
They don't want to get involved in this fight.
Okay, the next one, Ankash, please.
Yes, so the next one is a research paper which comes from Microsoft, and it is titled The Era of Agentic Organization, Learning to Organize with Language Models.
Yes, Ankash, could you please summarize this paper for us?
Sure, Luda. So basically what Microsoft researchers propose is an agentic organization where there is an organizer LLM which delegates subqueries to workers. So they fork tasks to workers and then it joins back and they do it asynchronously. As a result, they have titled this as Async Think, which is they are touting it as a new paradigm of reasoning. I think what they highlight is that this particular method has 28% lower inference latency compared to parallel thinking. So we have discussed variety of papers in the past few weeks which talk about how these agents or sub-agents, they work in parallel while improving accuracy, speed, and reducing latency. So I think this is right now optional for an AI leader because they don't need to get into these different paradigms or new reasoning techniques. They first need to work with the basic agentic stuff.
Okay, so optional from Ankaj. Vivek, what did you think?
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed reading this article, and I gave it more as more of an important to an essential because it provides a new paradigm for reasoning to improve the accuracy of the model. I think that is one of the still the kind of the bane of a lot of these agentic and AI systems is what is the accuracy, and if we have new reasoning paradigms are emerging, they're worth exploring. And I think an AI leader needs to know these upcoming ones. So I was between an important and essential, given how unique this is, and especially with Microsoft, right? They could be start enabling some of these within their kind of big stack in the enterprise stack. So yeah.
Yeah, I could even hear what Paul is going to say. Paul?
I'm going to set out this one given my over participation in the last round.
Okay. John, what did you think?
Yeah, I was going to give it an option, but Vivek, you maybe think it's given important. I was trying to. I love this stuff because my thesis actually did a lot of this kind of how you think about the relationship between expert systems, symbolic AI, organization, and productivity, and this is the machine side of that conversation. And back in the '80s, we were doing a ton of like simulation of organizations and so forth with new transaction costs. And I think we're back there, right? How do you think about agency and planning and the creation of organizations, and what's the mirror of the organization to the technology as an analogy and as a design approach? And it's very rich in that area. I think this is still the deconstruction of bureaucracy as opposed to the emergence of biology. And I think we're going to see paradigms look more biological. But anyway, I think this is kind of cool. It functionally delivers value, and I think that the efficiency of planning and interim factor calculation, which this I think highlights tremendously, is going to be unbelievably important in the efficiency of the overall system. So I could see that being important. So important it is for the curious mind.
Okay. For the curious mind, I was actually optional. I agree with you. It's a very interesting read. It pushes the boundary, but what would the AI leader do with it other than kind of, yeah, maybe it will be implemented, maybe not. So, Paul, we need your vote. We are 2-2, two optionals, two importance. What do you think?
I could take his proxy optional, triple, quadruple.
I mean, the Viveks of the world, these guys are time starved. So I don't want Vivek.
No, I think Paul, I think there are like emergence of these multiple, even AI leader personas where there's an operational, and then there's sort of the visionary and looking at the next big thing and how to kind of incorporate. I think we're starting to see those, and I think this article is good because it reminds leaders that there are new ways to continue to think about it, continuous learning. So that's why I was my last stat.
Vivek, I would agree with you, except it goes into the weeds. It goes really deeply into formulas, and you need to kind of sit there for quite a long time to really decipher them. So it's a little more on the technical side that I would have liked to recommend it as an important read. So I'm going optional, guys, optional. Okay, Ankash, let's go next.
Okay, the next one comes from VentureBeat, and it is titled Terminal Bench 2.0 launches alongside Harbor, a new framework for testing agents in containers.
Yeah, so an attempt on standardization, on testing agents. What did you think about this, John?
Yeah, I was going to give this an optional. It's I think the notion of creating a standard for testing agents and so forth. A number of people are out there doing it. And when you look at the what they've been able to do, there's not a lot of they're aiming to standardize, but there's not any kind of evidence of adoption here. It gives us some notion of how to, if you go down and it talks about the early results, GPT-5 leads in task success. So it gives us some evidence that the leading model is the leading model. But for me, this is optional.
Okay, optional from John. Vivek?
Optional, same reasons. Yeah.
Ankash? Yeah, optional it is. Let's proceed.
People need to focus on
Okay.
if the agent works, Luda, not if it. Anyway, optional. Yeah.
I agree, but I think evals, and this is one of my passions. You have to measure. You have to understand whether they're doing what they need to be doing, and
Well,
in the
then
itself.
measure exit criteria. Anyway,
Yeah. No, so this is an important area, but I agree with optional. Okay. All right. Next one, Ankash, please.
Okay, the next one comes from A16Z and it is titled From Words to Worlds. Spatial intelligence is AI's next frontier.
So Fei Li is the creator of this world, was working quite deeply in robotics. This is really a cool write-up. Vivek, what did you think about this one?
Three for three today. This is, Fei Li again is considered the godmother of AI, and developed ImageNet, and she's written this manifesto around spatial intelligence and world models. We've been hearing a lot about that, but this is an excellent summary of where we are and where we need to go, and she highlights the limitations of the current large language models and multimodal models, and going beyond them to understand the world and predicting the next action. And she has a lot of great analogies to historical, how humans think and evolve, and visual cues are related to intelligence. So again, I think this is a great read. This is going to be part of the narrative in the next 6 to 12 months that every AI leader needs to just be familiar with, even though this is just a concept announcement and they're building a company around it. It points towards this change in how this whole area is moving towards. So I'm going to give this an essential.
Essential. Okay, I was listening to you thinking you're going important, going optional. Nina is experimenting with marble and likes it very much. So I haven't tried it, but I think the Fei Li hits it on the head. This is where we're going. John, what did you think about this?
Yeah, I actually was thinking this an optional. I love her writing and her point of view in terms of what's going on here. A couple $1 million to Andreessen Horowitz isn't much, but if I were the VC behind this, I'd be worried. It's like, why is she spending time writing this frigging thing instead of building stuff? So I've hung around with a lot of academics who think they're entrepreneurs and they're not. So that's what was going through my mind here. I think she's absolutely right. Spatial intelligence is, one of the next phase ways of thinking. Obviously, she's coming from ImageNet over. Obviously, a professional who has, got fantastic accolades and so forth. But for me, this is optional for the AI leader right now, and I don't think it's developed enough that they have to even put it in their near-term future architecture.
Yeah, I agree on the interest in the AI leader attention span, right? But it is we talked about it. Was it yesterday? I was surprised you're saying optional. You were arguing that the spatial, the images, the recognition of that was essential yesterday. So this is on the same theme, and she's building worlds that you can then project right into and relate to as our artificial world, essentially.
Well, you and Nina are both saying, hey, look, she's building stuff. If she's building stuff and Nina says, look, Marvel's already had an influence in the robotic space, then I'm good for essential. I mean, if she's actually like building and delivering, that's great.
Oh yeah. Marble is an active world that she's piloting, and you can try it, and that's what Nina is arguing. It's already there, and it certainly will impact robotic space, but it will impact how LLMs work. Actually,
yeah. Did I say optional? I meant essential.
Yay! Okay. So Vivek, I think you win. Ankash.
I was important on this one, Luda. So we have seen examples of her work. So we have discussed articles previously about word labs creating stuff. So those are interactive words where you can play around with it. And we have discussed previously as well that they will be very useful for game development, for robotics, simulation, etc. But while they are there, they are not being put into use right now. I would say from a commercial angle, right? We can experiment with them, but we haven't seen an application of those concepts right now in anything. So just from that perspective, I would say important, not essential, but AI leaders need to know that this is coming, and this is a different concept compared to LLMs. So important for that reason.
Voice of reason. Yeah, let's do important rather than essential, because it's not this something they have to read right now, right this minute, to put into their daily. So, but it is important to be aware and read. So voice of reason, Ankash, is important. Let's go forward.
Okay, the last one that we have for today comes from Meta, and it is about their generative ads model, the central brain accelerating ads recommendation and AI innovation.
Yeah, I rated it as optional. Even though it's coming from Meta, even though it's a very important area, but with lots of innovation. So what Meta has done is built a generative ads model, and they essentially rebuilt their prior ads models to add an understanding of the ads themselves, so and the data behind ads. For example, they put the data behind ads into two categories: sequence features, as like activity history, and non-sequence features, such as user attributes, age, location, whatnot. And then they sent LLMs to analyze those features across and cross-pollinate, and that gave them 4x in efficiency versus their previous models. So innovations like that. They also scaled their park of GPUs running this 16x. So this is the dance or fight of titans. So for the regular AI leaders, this is like, yeah, important to know. Meta is doing some great stuff. It's pushing the envelope, but they're not going to engage in this. So I marked it as optional, but I'm interested. What did you think, Vivek?
Yeah, I was between optional and important, given that there may be some implications here in terms of using this type of models um, for lead generation and understanding customer intent. This is not sort of transition in that world, and Meta has been doing an excellent job. Their ads are the most relevant you see on different platforms. So, but I'm with you, Luda. I could be
Okay.
optional.
Ankash?
I was optional on this one, Luda.
Okay. John, last word.
Yeah, it was optional, but I'll tell you the fundamental thing here of if you think about Meta as essentially creating a market clearing mechanism, if like imagine this is a stock market, right? And each of these, the ads are some inventory and the customers are some inventory, and you're trying to articulate what the matching algorithm and crossing algorithm ought to be in that market. I bet that this is and it's a computational model of psychological action, if you will. That both of those are very, very powerful concepts. I think will be generalized beyond advertising. Like something like this. Certainly for politics or for all kinds of things, right? So this is very powerful medicine that we're dealing with here. This is kind of like the ayahuasca of desire. But for the AI leader, this particular article optional.
Yeah. And as I said, you need a park of like, I don't know how many GPUs to really even experiment with this stuff. So it's not touchable. Okay, optional it is. Let's proceed to the scorecard, Ankash. John, do you want to do the announcements?
Yeah. The only announcement we have today is that the Learning Lab from last night, which was great. It was search engine optimization to answer engine optimization, SEO to AEO, very practical. Paul went through a bunch of stuff. Rosemary, others, Alden shared their work, and it's just fantastic. It's available online now in our YouTube channel.
Wonderful. And for today, we had one essential, two importance, and the rest were optional. So our audience was split on the discussion about the HBR articles, some essential, some important. And it was interesting discussion about the mobile and the world's creation. So thank you for contributing, everybody. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you tomorrow.